Have you ever looked back at the way we raised our children and thought, I did the best I could with what I knew? And you're absolutely right, we all do the best we can. But sometimes, even with the best intentions, we may follow habits that don't quite match up with what kids actually need to grow strong and healthy. And now, as grandparents or caring figures in our grandchildren's lives, it's a great time to pause and rethink a few things, especially when it comes to food. Food plays a powerful role in a child's development. It fuels their bodies, shapes their brains, and helps them grow up with strong bones, bright eyes, and energy to explore the world. But here's the tricky part. Some feeding practices that were common in our day, or even things we still see today, might actually be holding kids back from reaching their full potential. Not because we meant any harm, of course. Sometimes it's just old habits or outdated advice that hasn't kept up with what we now know about nutrition and child development. So in this video, we're going to talk heart-to-heart about 5 common feeding mistakes that could be slowing down a child's growth or even affecting their long-term health. And more importantly, we'll go over simple, practical things you can do instead, whether you're helping out at mealtimes, packing a lunch, or just offering a snack while babysitting. These tips are meant to empower you, not criticize, and I promise they're easy to understand and even easier to put into action. Let's start with a feeding habit that many of us were raised with, pressuring kids to finish everything on their plate. Now, this one hits close to home for a lot of us. Think back. How often did we hear, there are starving children out there, so don't waste food, or you're not getting up until that plate is clean? It came from a good place. We were taught not to waste and to be grateful for what we had. And as parents, we just wanted our kids to be well-fed and healthy. But here's what we know now, forcing kids to eat past their fullness can actually disrupt their natural ability to listen to their own bodies. You see, children are born with an incredible sense of hunger and fullness. It's something we adults sometimes lose over time, but in kids, it's very sharp. When we pressure them to keep eating, even when they say they're full, we start to override that natural system. Over time, they stop trusting their own hunger cues, which can lead to overeating or even unhealthy relationships with food later in life. So what's a better approach? Instead of focusing on how much they eat, focus on what you offer. Think of it like this, you decide the what and when, they decide the how much. Put out a healthy selection of foods, offer it at regular times, and let them choose how much they want. If they say they're full after 2 bites, that's okay. Their appetite may change day to day, just like ours does. Trust that they'll make up for it at the next meal or snack. And here's something to remember, making mealtimes peaceful and pressure-free often encourages better eating habits than nagging ever could. So instead of you have to eat that, try saying, it's here if you'd like more. That one small shift can make a world of difference. Now, let's talk about another habit that seems harmless on the surface, using sweets or junk food as a reward for good behavior. Maybe your grandchild finishes their homework or behaves at the store, and you say, great job. Let's get ice cream. Or maybe you've said, if you eat your veggies, you can have a cookie. Again, this comes from a good place, celebrating the little victories or encouraging them to try new foods. But over time, this can send the wrong message. What happens is that sweets and treats start to feel more valuable in their minds, more exciting, more special, while healthy foods like vegetables become the chore they have to do first. Kids quickly learn to associate the fun foods with happiness, rewards, or comfort, and that can follow them into adulthood. Suddenly, every celebration or tough day needs to be met with a sugary snack, and that pattern can stick for life. So what can you do instead? Celebrate their wins with non-food rewards whenever possible. Maybe it's extra playtime with you, a special sticker, or just a big, joyful "I'm so proud of you." If you do offer a treat, let it be just that, a treat, not a transaction. And when you talk about food, try to avoid calling some foods bad and others good. Instead, use words like everyday foods and sometimes foods. That way, you're teaching balance, not guilt or restriction. It's all about helping kids build a healthy relationship with food, where they can enjoy an occasional sweet without it becoming the main attraction. And believe it or not, when you take the reward out of it, kids are less likely to crave those sugary snacks all the time. The truth is, the way we talk about food, the way we serve it, and even the way we model our own eating habits, it all plays a role. And I know it might feel overwhelming to rethink habits we've had for years. But here's the good news, it's never too late to make small changes that have a big impact. Whether you're caring for your grandchildren full-time, helping after school, or even just giving advice to your adult children, your influence still matters, maybe more than ever. Now that we've talked about letting kids listen to their fullness and avoiding food as a reward, let's move on to something just as important. Something just as important, and that's relying too much on processed, kid-friendly foods. Now, I get it, life is busy. Whether you're watching the grandkids for an afternoon or helping pack their school lunches, those little snack packs, frozen meals, and colorful boxes labeled for kids sure do make things easy. They're quick, they're familiar, and kids usually gobble them up without a fuss. But here's the thing most of those packages don't tell you, many of these foods are loaded with added sugar, salt, and preservatives that do very little to support a child's growth. In fact, they often crowd out the healthier foods kids should be eating, things that nourish their bones, boost their brains, and keep their bodies strong and active. Now, that doesn't mean you have to start making homemade meals from scratch every day. This isn't about perfection. It's about being more mindful. When possible, choose whole foods, simple things like fresh fruits, steamed veggies, whole grains, or lean proteins. And if you do use something prepackaged, try reading the labels. If sugar or salt is one of the first few ingredients, it might be worth finding an alternative. Let me give you an example. Instead of those fruit snacks made with corn syrup and food dye, try offering slices of apple with a bit of peanut butter, or grapes and a cheese stick. Not only are those options delicious, but they're also packed with nutrients that actually do something for a child's body, like support their immune system or help their muscles grow. And here's a little tip I've picked up over the years, kids love to be involved. Sometimes, just letting them help wash veggies or stir something simple in a bowl gets them more excited to try healthier foods. It makes the meal feel like something they were part of, not just something handed to them. And when kids feel ownership over what they're eating, they're more likely to enjoy it, and less likely to demand chicken nuggets at every meal. Now, let's talk about something else that's easy to overlook, skipping meals or letting kids graze all day long. This one can be a bit sneaky. Maybe the child had a big breakfast and didn't want lunch, or maybe they're constantly snacking, just a cracker here, a few bites of something there. You figure, as long as they're eating something, that's okay, right? Well, not quite. Kids need structure, especially when it comes to meals. Their bodies thrive on routine, and when meals are irregular or grazing takes the place of proper meals, they miss out on the balanced nutrition that helps them grow. A little nibble of chips here and a handful of cookies there might keep them from feeling hungry, but it doesn't give them the variety of nutrients their growing bodies really need. What works better is setting regular meal times and snack times, with clear gaps in between. This gives their digestive systems a chance to rest and lets real hunger build naturally. When kids come to the table actually hungry, not already full from constant snacking, they're more likely to eat a balanced meal. And just like adults, kids are more open to trying new foods when they're actually hungry. If you want a child to taste a new vegetable or finish their sandwich, giving them the space between meals to build an appetite can really help. I know sometimes it can be tempting to let them snack all day, especially if they're picky eaters. But here's something to remember, hunger is the best sauce. When we give kids the opportunity to feel real hunger, and pair that with wholesome food options, they're more likely to eat what their bodies need. And now, speaking of picky eaters, let's touch on something I hear about all the time, making separate meals for kids just to avoid a fuss at the table. Oh, this one's a tough one. You make a lovely dinner, maybe a nice piece of fish, some roasted vegetables, a little rice, and then your grandchild says, "Ew, I don't like that," and suddenly you're in the kitchen making mac and cheese instead. Sound familiar? Trust me, you're not alone. No one wants to see a child go hungry. And no one wants to listen to complaints or meltdowns at the dinner table. But when we constantly make separate meals to cater to a child's preferences, we're unintentionally teaching them that it's okay to avoid new foods, and that they can always get what they want with a little resistance. The better approach is to offer one meal for the whole family and include at least 1 or 2 items you know the child likes. That way, they have something safe and familiar on their plate, but they're also exposed to new flavors and textures. If they don't eat everything, that's okay. But by consistently seeing and being offered a variety of foods, their curiosity will eventually take over. Sometimes, it takes 10 or 15 exposures before a child decides to taste something new, and that's completely normal. The key is to stay calm and consistent. Avoid pressuring, avoid bribes, and just keep offering. Over time, their tastes expand, and mealtimes become less of a battleground and more of a shared family experience. Food isn't just fuel, it's connection. It's love, it's culture, it's memories made around the table. And as grandparents, we have this beautiful opportunity to pass down not only recipes but values. Patience. Curiosity. Respect for our bodies. We get to shape how our grandchildren see food, not as a fight or a transaction, but as something nourishing and joyful. So, whether you're cutting up fruit for a snack or sitting down to dinner as a family, your presence, and the way you approach feeding, matters deeply. And just by being thoughtful and intentional with these small changes, you can make a real difference in your grandchild's health and confidence. Next, we'll dive into one more feeding mistake that often goes unnoticed, but can have a lasting impact on a child's growth and well-being. And that last mistake is one we don't always think of right away, but it can quietly affect a child's health over time. I'm talking about not modeling healthy eating ourselves. Now, this isn't about guilt or blame, let's be honest, we all have our favorite treats or comfort foods. Maybe it's a slice of pie after dinner, a little too much salt on our meals, or skipping veggies when we're not in the mood. That's life. But here's what we often forget, kids are watching us far more than they're listening to us. You can tell a child, eat your broccoli, it's good for you, 100 times. But if they never see you eating it, or worse, they hear you say, ugh, I hate broccoli, while you're pushing it to the side, guess what sticks in their mind? Children learn by example. And when they see the grown-ups they love and trust enjoying a variety of healthy foods, drinking water instead of soda, sitting down to meals without distractions, they pick up on that. Even if they don't try those things right away, you've planted a seed. You've shown them what balanced, thoughtful eating looks like. And over time, that's what shapes their habits. So, what can you do? It's really about small shifts. If you're having a snack with your grandchild, try an apple or a handful of nuts instead of chips. If you're serving dinner, put the same veggies on your plate that you put on theirs. And if you don't like something, that's okay, just try to talk about it in a way that keeps the door open, not shut. For example, you might say, Brussels sprouts aren't my favorite, but I know they're good for me, so I give them a try now and then. And here's the beautiful part, eating together, sharing meals and stories, laughing at the table, that's where the real magic happens. When you model not just what to eat, but how to eat, with gratitude, curiosity, and joy, you're teaching something so much bigger than nutrition. You're building a foundation that can support your grandchild for life. Remember, it's not about being perfect. None of us eat perfectly all the time, and we shouldn't feel like we have to. It's about being intentional and leading with love. One meal at a time, one small change at a time. So let's take a quick breath and just reflect on everything we've talked about together. We started with the idea that pressuring kids to clean their plates, while something many of us grew up with, can actually teach them to ignore their body's natural signals. Instead, we can support them by letting them decide how much to eat from a balanced offering of foods. Then we looked at the way rewards, especially sweets, can send mixed messages. Rather than turning food into a prize or a punishment, we can create a healthy, neutral relationship with all types of food, treats included. We talked about how easy it is to rely on processed kid-friendly options, and why whole foods, even in small changes, can go a long way in supporting growth and development. We also looked at grazing versus structured meals, and how kids need those clear, consistent times to eat, so they can build a healthy appetite and get proper nutrition. And finally, we explored the idea that our own eating habits, what we do, say, and model, can powerfully shape a child's food journey, even more than what we put on their plates. Each of these points comes down to the same core truth: children grow best when they're surrounded by calm, loving, and consistent guidance around food. And you, as a grandparent, a caregiver, or simply someone who loves these kids deeply, are already doing something wonderful by being present and involved. So be gentle with yourself. None of us get it right all the time. But the fact that you're here, listening, learning, and reflecting, that's something to be proud of. You're not just feeding a child's body, you're nurturing their confidence, their habits, and their sense of well-being. And that's something they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives. If any part of today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Maybe you remembered something from your own childhood, or maybe you're thinking about how to approach meals a little differently with your grandkids. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. It really helps others feel connected and supported, too. And if you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It lets me know you're enjoying the content and want more like this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos made just for you, with practical, heart-centered advice for navigating this wonderful stage of life. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope you feel encouraged, informed, and empowered. Because you matter. The way you show up in your grandchildren's lives matters. And the little things you do, from packing a lunch to sitting at the table and sharing a laugh, make a bigger difference than you might ever realize. Here's to raising healthy, happy children, and to living your best life at any age. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.